Hi everyone, I'm Irina and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about something we've all probably experienced at some point: criticism and hate. Quick disclaimer before we get started. I don't have a professional background in psychology or any related field, and my channel is primarily for entertainment. But I genuinely love analyzing, organizing, and sharing information that I learn along the way. So, here I'll be sharing some thoughts, observations about life, human behavior, and the world around us. I hope you find some of it interesting, thought provoking, or even helpful. So, let's get into it. Constructive and destructive criticism. First of all, there are two very different types of criticism that we have: constructive and destructive. We'll talk more about constructive criticism in a moment, but in short, constructive criticism is always directed at an action or behavior, not at the person themselves. Its purpose isn't to insult or tear someone down. It's meant to help improve a process, highlight areas for growth, and offer a different perspective that can be genuinely useful. Constructive criticism usually comes from people who genuinely want the best for you. Even if their feedback is difficult to hear, it's given with good intentions and genuine desire to help. On the other hand, destructive criticism serves no real purpose other than to hurt you. It comes from people whose goal is to insult, belittle, discourage, or undermine you. Their intention isn't to help you improve. It's meant to feel you worse, doubt yourself, or stop doing what you're doing. So for the rest of the video, when I'm talking about criticism, I'm specifically talking about destructive criticism, what we commonly call hate. Happy and kind people. People who are genuinely happy, kind, and fulfilled rarely feel the need to tear others down. In many cases, hate and destructive criticism come from people who are struggling with their own insecurities, frustrations, fears, and disappointment. Sometimes they never pursued the goals they wanted to pursue. Sometimes they give up because of fear, laziness, or social pressure. And when they see someone else taking action, it can bring those feelings to the surface. By attacking others, they often projecting their own pain. Consciously or unconsciously, they trying to make someone else feel what they actually feel. People who are genuinely happy with their lives, who are focused on their own goals, who are putting their energy into building something meaningful, usually don't spend their time insulting others. They're simply too busy living their own lives. Of course, there are exceptions to every rule. Some people are just mean for the sake of being mean. But in general, unnecessary cruelty tends to come from a place of unhappiness rather than fulfillment. Focus on your loved ones. Instead of focusing on the people who criticize you, focus on the people who truly matter in your life. Maybe it's your family, your closest friends, your partner, or your children. Even if it's a handful of people, remember this. Love, support, and belief of few people who genuinely care about you are worth far more than opinions of hundreds or even thousands of strangers. No matter how much criticism, negativity, or hate comes your way, it can never outweigh the support of people who sincerely love you, want the best for you, and cheer for your success. At the end of the day, these are the voices that deserve your attention, not the ones trying to bring you down. Social media is not the reality. I also want to say a few words about hate on the internet. The first thing to remember is that social media is not real life at all. People tend to feel much more comfortable, bold, and anonymous on the internet. They often hiding behind profile pictures, usernames, and screens, which makes it easier for them to say things they would probably never have courage to say face to face. That's one of the reasons why you usually encounter more negativity online than you do in your everyday life. And honestly, that's just something we have to accept. Another thing to keep in mind is that it's incredibly easy to be misunderstood on the internet. A poorly worded sentence, a wrong tone, an awkward joke, an unfortunate facial expression, or even catching someone on a bad day could be enough to trigger a wave of criticism and negativity. Sometimes people assume intentions that were never there in the first place. In real life, it's much easier to explain yourself, clarify what you meant, or smooth over a misunderstanding. However, online people see a tiny piece of who you are. Online people can feel your energy, your tone, and your intentions the way they can do it in person. Because of that, the internet often distorts who we really are, which leads to far more misunderstandings and conflict. Sometimes a hateful comment isn't the result of true hatred at all. It's just the result of someone interpreting your words in a way you never intended. Extraordinary people. Hate and dislike often happen to people who stand out. Extraordinary people, very beautiful people, highly intelligent, people with great physiques, exceptionally talented or very wealthy people, or heaven forbid, if you happen to have several of those qualities at the same time. People in society don't always like those who stand out from the crowd. So when someone truly exceptional comes along, some other people feel the need to bring them back to the earth or cut them down to the side. That's why employers sometimes don't like employees who are smarter or more talented than they are. Lazy people often dislike those who are disciplined and committed to fitness. Attractive people, both men and women, are often isolated, misunderstood, and struggle to find genuine friendships. And when it comes to wealthy people, many immediately assume that they must have stolen, cheated, or done something unethical to get to where they are. So, strong, bold, and extraordinary individuals often trigger envy and hate in others, and that's just simply something we have to accept. But here's the good news. If you've ever been envied, criticized, or disliked for no apparent reason, then there was probably something about you worth that envying. More often than not, jealousy and hate are simply a part of your price of your success. Bored people. Some people are simply bored. And stirring up the drama is how they entertain themselves. Not exactly the healthiest hobby, but it happens. Maybe they haven't built a life they're happy with. Maybe they're unfulfilled or they're just bored. Whatever the reason, they end up spending more time focused on other people's lives than their own. As a result, hate can sometimes appear completely out of nowhere. The person being targeted may not have done anything wrong at all. Someone else was simply bored and decided to start an argument, create drama, or turn a small issue into a scandal. In cases like that, the person may not have been trying to hurt or insult you specifically. What they really wanted is conflict itself. They want something to argue about. They want a reaction. They want the emotional excitement that comes from a confrontation. Because for some people, even a pointless fight brings more excitement into their lives than doing nothing at all. Stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I'm not encouraging unnecessary fights or arguments or conflicts, but if someone seriously crossed your boundaries or genuinely insulted you, you have every right to defend yourself. If you don't stand up for yourself, no one else may do it for you. And over time, your mind can start to accept the idea that it's okay for people to disrespect you. That can lead to low self-esteem, self-doubt, and a lack of self-respect, and many other problems. You are not obligated to tolerate behavior that you would never direct towards someone else. Personally, I've never fully agreed with phrases like be the bigger person, don't stoop to their level, and so on. So sometimes those ideas seem to benefit the people who caused the harm in the first place, because they get to avoid responsibility for their actions. Standing up for yourself doesn't mean becoming cruel, aggressive, or disrespectful. It simply means making it clear that you will not accept being mistreated. If someone has genuinely hurt you, or insulted, or disrespected, you have every right to defend yourself and protect your boundaries. Not everyone gonna like you. You will never be liked by everyone, and that's completely okay. As the saying goes, you're not $100 banknote to be liked by everyone. People are different. They have different personalities, preferences, values, interests, mindsets, and so on. So what one person loves, another person may dislike. And that's just part of being a human. There is another saying that I really love. If everybody likes you, you're probably not being yourself. The truth is, there will always be people who don't like you. And that's not a problem. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, and it doesn't mean you need to change something about you. After all, you don't like everyone you meet as well. Once you accept that not everyone is going to like you, life becomes so much easier. You stop trying to please everyone and start focusing on the people who genuinely appreciate you for who you are. You can absolutely live a happy, fulfilling life without thousands of approval, admiration, or praise. In fact, that's exactly how most people do that. You'll never manage to not care at all. No matter how many times people say you, just ignore the hate, don't let it bother you, or why do you even care about what they think? You will probably never become completely immune to criticism and hate. And even if you've done a tremendous amount of work on yourself, you're still not going to stop caring 100%. And that's because you're human. Every human being, without exception, has a fundamental need for acceptance, belonging, support, and connection. One day, I heard a really interesting explanation for this. Thousands of years ago, when humans lived in tribes and small communities, being rejected by the group could be a death sentence. If you were cast out, you lost your protection, your resources, and your chances of survival. In a world full of predators and dangers, being alone could literally mean. So, for our ancestors, rejection wasn't just emotionally painful, it was genuinely dangerous. The problem that is evolution moves very slowly. Centuries pass, civilizations rise and fall, the world changes completely, but many of our deepest instincts remain surprisingly similar. That's why deep down, most of us carry a fear of rejection and a desire to be accepted by others. And because of that, criticism, hate, and social disapproval can feel like more than just words. On some level, our brains interpret them as signs that we're being pushed away from the group. It's almost as if a part of us thinks, today they don't like one of my ideas, tomorrow they will not like me at all. Of course, in the modern world, you can absolutely survive without the approval of every person around you. But convincing your subconscious of that is much harder than it sounds. So the next time someone's words hurt you, don't immediately judge yourself for it. Remember, you're human. You have feelings, fears, and emotional needs, and you have every right to have them. Work on your self-esteem. And finally, work on your self-esteem. Get to know yourself, learn about your strengths, and just as importantly, your weaknesses. The better you understand yourself, the harder it becomes for other people's opinions to shake you. Because if someone points out one of your flaws, at the very least, it probably won't come as a huge surprise for you. You already know about it, and chances that you are already working on it. A healthy sense of self-worth is a solution to a lot more problems than we realize, actually. In fact, once you know yourself well enough, some hateful comments lose their power immediately. Sometimes you can simply say, yep, that's one of my flaws. I know, you're right, I'm working on it. Do you happen to have any helpful advice? And suddenly the conversation becomes a lot less dramatic. So that's it for today's video. I hope you found it helpful, interesting, or maybe that gave you a new perspective on something. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be sharing plenty more content on topics like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you soon again. Take care, bye bye!